They've got a refurbished stadium up at the University of New Hampshire, but the football team, it's the same. Good. The Tiger Football Report with head coach Rob Ambrose is next.
For an athlete, there's nothing scarier than a torn ACL.
Athletes trust us with their care and their careers because we're a recognized leader in sports medicine.
Get back to your active life sooner with MedStar Sports Medicine.
Wildcats ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it's locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl, chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. You come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Welcome, Tiger fans, to another edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas, along with head coach Rob Ambrose. And coach, this week the Tigers travel up to the University of New Hampshire. Haven't been there in a couple of years. They've redone the stadium since Towson was last there. But the football team, they're 4-2. They're 2-1 in the CAA. They score a lot of points. So just another year in Durham, New Hampshire.
I think we were going through the schedule today, and by the end of the season, it's a legitimate possibility that outside of Maryland and Morgan and maybe one other team, every single team we play will have been or will be nationally ranked before the end of the season. Just another week in the CAA.
And New Hampshire this week in the top 15 nationally. They're coming off a loss to Stony Brook, a game in which they scored 24 points. Their quarterback, Knight, is having a very, very good year. This is a balanced football team. They've run it 223 times. They've thrown it 210 times. Can't get much closer to 50-50 than that after 433 plays.
Which is actually a little bit different than what they have done in the past. That they're usually pretty wide open, massively dynamic, trick plays all over the place. But they've become, I don't want to say pedestrian, that's not at all. They're a little less trick plays and a little more solid football. They're a bigger football team than when we last played them physically. They're bigger up front, they're stronger up front. They still have the athletes on the perimeter, but they've really developed a strength to both their offensive and defensive lines that's different than just pass rush, pass pro. And it's made them a more consistent winner. And I think what they're trying to do is, they could get to the point where they were getting into the playoffs, but without that size and strength and a solid run game, they weren't going very far. And they took a little bit of a cue from us and decided to beef it up a little bit, and they've really done well.
Yeah, they only go to the playoffs every year. It's like 16 straight seasons that they've been to the FCS playoffs. Now, your teams have had some good moments up at Durham. A couple of years ago, you spanked them good and still didn't get into the playoffs, and they did, which still sticks in the craw of a lot of people around here. But you have had success against the Wildcats, and that's got to give your players some confidence heading up there this week.
Oh, sure. It doesn't really matter. It's week to week. I've said this over and over again, and I know it may sound trite, but it's the honest-to-God truth. With all these teams being nationally ranked and all these coaches, you could throw away the records and all that stuff. None of that stuff. The jerseys don't mean anything. The geography doesn't mean anything outside of when it snows or it rains. It's just really, really great football players, really, really great football coaches, and finding a way to manage it through that. And I think our kids are excited for another week.
Now, as this week progresses, do you wait until game time to name a starting quarterback? Do you know who the starting quarterback is going to be? How does that work?
Always seems to be the first question everyone wants to ask. I usually answer it with the snide. It's the guy who takes the snaps. But we had some conversations about it earlier today, and we're going to have some conversations about it later on tonight, and I'll let you know. I really haven't made, and I'm not being coy, we haven't made a decision, yes or no.
Right.
All options were on the table, and we haven't finalized it yet.
The one thing about the offense that I think is a surprise from folks is that you haven't been able to run the ball effectively. Is that a product of the offensive line, the fact that they're freshman running backs, a combination of both? What has it been?
It's a combination of both. Your experience on the offensive line here is your right tackle and your left tackle. That Matt and Antonio have played a lot of football here. But the three interior guys are all first-year Tiger starters. The fullback is a first-year Tiger starter. And when C.J. Williams can't play since Shane's been injured, both tailbacks are true freshmen. And as true freshmen go, they understand the scheme that you teach them, but when they get the ball in their hand, they just run to daylight. They don't really run within the scheme of what you're trying to get done. They're just learning. They don't have enough reps at the college level. So it's a combination of all things. And for us to be successful, we need to limit a little bit of what we do, simplify it so that their reads are more simple and allow them to have more success.
What's the prognosis on some of the injured players? I mean, do you expect to get some back sometime in the next couple of weeks?
Oh, I do. I think if all things go well, we'll be lucky enough to see Shane Simpson in a football uniform again in the very near future. And that would be helpful. I don't know how much, how soon, I don't know, but I believe for sure we will get him. Trey Kilgore, not a good prognosis, and I'm still hoping and praying on Morgan.
All right. Well, you can't be much more honest than that. Now, one freshman that has had some explosive plays, Rodney Dorsey. Where do you see his future with this team?
Oh, goodness. Frederick County product, those are pretty good sometimes. He's doing a great job and he's trying really, really hard to understand, but clearly college offense versus high school offense. Let's just say college classes versus high school classes. It's an entirely different level. And no matter how skilled you are, it takes a little while before both feet feel comfortable on the ground where they are within those subject matters. And he has really had some flashes of brilliance and held off on some really he's made some mistakes, but they haven't shown up as critical ones. And very rare, I'm a big stickler on this, but with some of the injuries that we had, he became a return guy. Colby's a return guy. I'm hard time putting freshmen back there. It's a very stressful thing for them to do. And both of those young men have responded admirably. I couldn't be more impressed. I can't see their ceiling yet. That's what I see for the future.
Do you kind of hold your breath while the ball's in the air?
Not at all. I have complete faith. Are you kidding? With all those things, I'd be holding my breath a long, long time. No, not at all.
All right. Well, the Tigers and the Wildcats do battle 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon up in Durham, New Hampshire. Gordy Combs and I will have the call for you on CBS Sports Radio 1300 and TowsonTigers.com starting at 1:45 with the pregame show. For head coach Rob Ambrose, I'm Spiro Morekas. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Tigers.